Well, now there's been this argument that workers in government establishments manage their time better than those in the private sector. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, like the truth of the matter is that, for government establishments, ranging from when people walk into the office, you see, startup time could be 8 a.m. in the morning, and you see people walking into office as late as 11 a.m. in the morning, and then they are leaving by 4 p.m. And you're wondering, there will be no productivity within the system, and that is the reason why there has been so much low productivity in terms of service delivery in our country, as the case may be. In fact, in my thinking, at the heart of time management is the concept of planning. Anybody who does not know how to plan within systems will not be able to achieve quality time management. And if anybody wants to be the best in this area, there are 4 key things that a person would have to watch very effectively. The issue of procrastination. The issue of procrastination. I have seen someone who was supposed to send an email to an organization that was expecting the email to be able to do some great business with the organization, and the person said, "I'll do it in another 2 hours," and that was it. The person forgot, and that cost the organization so much money. So we must destroy the issue of procrastination within the organizational system. Anything that we want to do now, we should do it now. The issue of the action mentality culture should be encouraged within institutions and organizations, whether it's private or government-owned businesses, as the case may be. And the issue of indecision. Indecision is an element that has caused a lot of failure within businesses, because people are not able to take decisions quickly, as the case may be, because business is dynamic. The ability to be able to take decisions and implement them immediately is key for the success of the organization. And the other element is having people with that vision within institutions. Once you have people with that vision within institutions, they never see the end from the beginning. And if people do not have the capacity to see the end from the beginning, they don't have the idea to work themselves towards achieving the dream of the organization, as the case may be. And then finally, having purposeless friends. There are people who just can't allow people to work. They call on the phone on a consistent basis. They are always visiting uninvited to offices, as the case may be.
Is this a challenge that goes both ways? Sorry, Linus, this is a challenge.
You can't even think.
Sorry to cut you in here, Linus. Is this a challenge that goes both ways? Are we talking about it applying to workers in the public sector as well as the private sector? Because they feel that workers in the public sector have more time on their hands and can afford to do things like this and still get back to work. But in the private sector, it really doesn't happen.
I can tell you that in private sector, a lot of people think that they don't waste time in private sector. That's not really true. I mean, a lot of the organizations that at least that I know, there are a lot of people who are within institutions, they are involved, but they are not actually present. To be present, it's possible to be present in an organization, you're not involved. You're not engaged within the organization. So many people are using, their organization's resources for their personal pursuits, as the case may be. And so, the only difference between the private sector and the public sector is that at least there's a lot of accountability in the private sector. But in the public sector, nobody manages anybody. So that's the problem that we're having. That's why it is more in the public sector.
Well, how can that now be addressed? How can we begin to manage time more in the public sector? Because that's what actually drives the economy. We have a lot of government workers. So how can we begin to maximize time in the public sector to effectively increase productivity?
Yeah, the greatest thing that we must do for the public sector is for the leaders of the public sector must make it a top priority to invest in the leadership capital of their staff like never before. Every individual, that is working within a public sector must be accountable, per se. There must be a proper plan to say, if you don't come in, at work for 8 o'clock in the morning, there must be a disciplinary measure that must, be against you per se. Because if you don't do that, if there is no inspired sense of purpose within these organizations, there is nothing that can happen that will bring about, proper time management. So the first thing that I would always ask the public sector drivers to do is to reorientate the staff of these organizations like never before. There must be constant training that, we highlight the implication of inability to manage time on the budget, on achieving the budget per time. Are you not surprised that our budgets, the yearly budget, will never get up to, even 40% every year? It's simply because of the fact that, the people who are supposed to do their jobs within the public sector, most of them are not doing their jobs. So we must, take very seriously these things as serious offenses as the case may be. Once you are inspired the people and they don't follow, what you do is that you create a system whereby the top leaders must also show examples as the case may be. If you have top leaders within organizations who walk into their offices by 8 o'clock in the morning and are ready to work, I can assure you that a lot of their subordinates will begin to get scared. The problem is that a lot of the big, drivers, the leaders themselves, they never show up in the office, for 8 o'clock in the morning. So most of them appear 12 o'clock and they travel and they never come back for weeks. And so, there's nobody regulating anybody. And that is a major problem. We must get people who are fit, who understand leadership to head these institutions so that they can drive performance within the organizations.
Well, Linus, let's also talk about multitasking, because that happens a lot when people are trying to maximize their time, either as entrepreneurs or employers or employees, as the case may be. Now, what are your thoughts? Should multitasking be encouraged in light of what you're saying, in terms of trying to maximize our time?
Yeah, the truth of the matter is that, one of the greatest things I've always asked people to do is that, the reason why you have some the tools, technology is actually, to take, some of the things that we spend too much time on. Technology can help us, make it, faster as the case may be. You might actually be answering a phone call and at the same time you're working on the matter. But in my thinking, I would always like, people to learn how to do, just one or two things at a time. Because in some situations, multitasking can even cause more problems than you can imagine in some situations. So what I would advise people to do is that people should learn strongly the power of delegation. Once you learn how to delegate and allow people to do what they know how to do best more effectively, then, change drivers can build their organizations, to the next level. You know what I mean? So I'm not someone who encourages a lot of multitasking, as the case may be. In fact, entrepreneurs begin to multitask only when, if you note, when they start the organization, they might not have money to hire, the accountant. They might not have money to hire some other people who are important in the process. So they try to do all these things themselves until they get to the point where, they cannot hire people. It's usually a process. And once the organization stabilizes, I discourage multitasking, at that point in time. Because remember, our health are also important. You know what I mean? Because if you spend all your time trying to achieve and trying to do so much because you've got so many talents and skills, at the end of the day, what happens is that you overburden your system and you might not be able to, drive it further to enjoy the fruit of your labor. So what
Linus, we know that time is money. As much as possible, we have to fashion out whatever we're doing in a day to make sure that we make it commiserate with whatever money it is that we're going to be earning. Now, how can we identify time-wasting activities in business and eliminate them?
This is very, very key. Each day of our lives, that's where, auditing, personal auditing comes into play. At the end of each day, one of the things that we must do as individuals is to actually think through what are the things that we have been able to achieve the whole day. What were the issues why we must continue to ask the question why. Why didn't this happen? Why did this happen? And in the process of doing that, you discover that there were phone calls that, were personal phone calls that you wasted so much time on. Probably your staff didn't listen to get an instruction that was supposed to, So he has to do a job 3 times because he didn't get a clear instruction, at the first instance. So we must begin to look at, issues that do not add to the core of the business, the activities that we do, within a particular day that do not add up, to the bottom line of the business. And we have to ensure that, we take off those activities, immediately. And as I'm talking to you right now, I know the bug that has caught up with young people working within organizations is the issue of Facebook. Facebook, why people are working in organizations, they can spend 3 hours actually, going just around, Facebook, and they are not doing the work they're supposed to do.
Well, Linus, can I just quickly mention that, Facebook is actually a social tool. It's also used as a marketing instrument. Now, you keep harping on the fact that a lot of organizations, people tend to spend so much time on using such social platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and the rest of them. But we know that these, instruments can also be used as a marketing tool. So, should there be like a button, or to probably let the organization take it completely off their site so that nobody uses these accounts if you don't want to use it as a social marketing tool? Is this going to be advised so that that it's only when you're using your mobile phones that you can access, your Facebook page or your Twitter account and the rest of it?
Absolutely. Every organization has, designations. They have different departments, diverse departments responsible for various things. So if you want to use these tools as marketing tools, maybe the corporate, communications or the marketing department, will be able to designate people whose responsibility will be to do just that. Once that happens, then you find out that, other people can now do what they are supposed to do. But in a case whereby once you come in the morning, every supervisor or manager, just walk around. You find out that within the organization, almost every young person you see, is surfing the internet for one thing or the other. Most of the time, it is not adding to the growth of the organization. They rather do their own things, as the case may be. And that's a very serious thing. And that's why I have always advised that we should employ people that are passionate about working for these organizations. If you employ people who have got great vision, are committed people who want to get results, they won't have time to change the organization. I think that's what, we should go to the foundation of this problem. Entrepreneurs who want to employ people should employ people who are key, to the growth of the organization, not necessarily because they want to favor people. You know what I mean? Or you're employing relatives, just because you want to favor them. Or you're employing friends just because you want to favor them. They will come into your organization and they will waste the time of the organization doing things that will not add value to the organization, as the case may be. And it's a very serious business.
Well, Linus, a lot of people knowingly or unknowingly channel their time into activities that are not profitable. Now, how can an entrepreneur, whether small or big, prioritize interests and eliminate time-wasting activities?
The first thing the entrepreneur must do is to, actually sit down a day before and carve out, specifically what are my goals for the year? What do I want to achieve for 5 years? Remember I said, if a man doesn't have a purpose of waking up, sleeping becomes interesting. If you see an entrepreneur that is driven with a big dream to achieve, normally those entrepreneurs, they don't waste time in any way at all, because every little time they find, they want to get, something done. So, and what they normally would do is that they should put a plan. There must be a daily plan, that is before them. Every entrepreneur should own a journal recording, their experiences per day, as the case may be. So that in the process of doing that, when they are meeting with new people, every day, they want to know who, will add value within their own, organization, as the case may be. So it is important that, attitudes, that are not, leading to the growth of the organization must be taken away immediately if they must actually succeed as entrepreneurs, as the case may be. And most of it is hanging out with friends during when you're supposed to be working. There are so many people who visit you and we don't have the capacity to say no to them. Or most of the time people invite you to activities, to meetings, that will just, keep wasting, all the time, as the case may be. And one of the things that I would like to say, in terms of, entrepreneurs having so many meetings, we should have less meetings and get more results. Most of the time, the meetings that we engage in, they take so much time, 3 hours, 4 hours. So before meetings are set, there must be clear-cut agendas. These agendas will help, keep the organization focused, as the case may be. There are so much time wasted in meetings, both in private and public, organizations. We should spend less time for meetings and get more results, by ensuring that we manage our time very effectively. For me, it's the way to go.
Thank you so much, Linus, for sharing your thoughts with us this morning on the program. I've been speaking with Linus Okorie, Leadership Capital Consultant, and we've been looking at time management in business. Do have a good day, Linus.